Let's get the rest of these guys moving then. Definitely want to heal Lynn, since part of me is very sure this mission won't end until she's sees the ground that boss is standing on. I could be wrong, though. And it's entirely possible, though, that she'll be the one to kill the bastard, since she's definitely more resistant than sane, at the very least. I'm not quite sure how much damage she'll be able to do to him when she gets in sword range, though. Well, seems our newbie Lucius is certainly lagging behind. The poor bastard didn't even get to have a single kill in his first mission. That's gotta be embarrassing. Bloody hell, doesn't look like Kent has any great odds against this guy. Sure, it could be worse, and if they strictly trade blows, he should come out on top, but good God, this is the sort of hit rate that makes you a bit iffy about it. Well, there's no romance as far as I can tell, but we are the heroes of this tale. Have you seen how slowly we've been moving out here? Because it certainly doesn't feel like we're rushing anywhere to me. Right, so Kent misses, but the guy he's fighting with, who has the exact same hit rate, doesn't. And they trade around who hits and who misses in the next turn. So in terms of health lost, both these warriors are still pretty equal. And while that level up might have given Kent enough of an edge to win this stalemate, I'd prefer to stack the odds further in our favor if possible. Huh. I was honestly expecting Florina to be completely healed by that. Dear God, Urk definitely isn't the right man for this fight if the hit rates are gonna look like that. I mean, sure, I knew, because the game outright told me that there was a rock, paper, scissors thing with mages too, but it's one thing to read about it, and it's another to outright see how out of his frickin' depth Urk is right now. Yikes. Well, at least Wrath doesn't have to worry about any annoying magical rock, paper, scissors stupidity here. And now I can't help wishing the series had some kind of rock, paper, scissors thing for bows to keep them relevant. Sure, they're especially good against flying units and do little to nothing to heavily armored ones, but it's not the same as the way that swords, axes, and spears interact with each other in this series. Despite missing half the time, Kent still managed to secure the kill. No, half the time he was hitting your flesh, not the air. Well, at the very least, it was interesting to see that the bastard didn't lose his sense of superiority when he was killed. That was certainly unique compared to the other bosses we fought so far, who had a bit of a mental breakdown that they lost. And apparently, I was wrong about needing to seize that bit of ground before we were done here. Well, it's not like we have any other leads, so let's go after them. Kid, they've got to stop moving somewhere. I doubt that they'd be able to just do whatever they want to do with your scissor while she's tied up on a moving horse. Huh. Well, I'll be damned. Someone managed to rescue a damsel in distress off-screen. I really can't find it in me to be annoyed that someone else rescued her after we did all the work. For one thing, it's a pretty good way to introduce the main character for the next campaign, Elliewood. For another thing, it's a little on the rare side for me to see someone who isn't on the player's control doing something noteworthy and not immediately joining the player right then and there. It helps make the world around us feel a bit more alive, which this game seriously needs more of. Good to see he didn't focus on the sake of it. We already dealt with a bigot in the previous mission. Wish I could say you believing her saves us some time, but then it's not like I know how long she spent describing everything that happened to lead us to this point in the story. If he's such a good friend, I'm surprised that your father didn't send anyone to investigate what's going on with that odd disease out of nowhere he's got. Or his brother's obvious power plays. He's not exactly being subtle here. Lynn, you only met one bigoted noble. You need a larger sample size to decide if that's a majority opinion of that social circle. Lynn, when someone offers to help you, generally speaking, it's a good idea to accept that offer. Sure, we've got more people than we know what to do with in our party right now, but still, we're dealing with a guy who has a city-state under his control. The enemy has a distinct advantage in numbers and resources. Well, her eyes are open. That's generally a good sign that she's awake. I suppose Nils was so busy trying to find help he didn't bother trying to learn anything aside from our crew was willing to help him. I'm sure there's gonna be some excuse why we can't deploy both you and your brother at the same time. Sane, I don't think she does that kind of dance. I don't know, Lynn. I've seen a good variety of dancers over the years. Some like to have looser clothes and capes, or the visual of said cloth trailing behind their every move draws the eye. Her other dance has the same power as Nils' little dance. Well, that was certainly predictable. It'd be a bit strange to have two support characters who can help everyone else take another turn active at the same time. Hell, they could possibly get into a loop of reactivating each other's turns over and over again. That would be a quick way to level up. Anyway, since she won't be deployable in this campaign, her twisted ankle isn't going to be an issue for us when we have to make any decisions. Well, of course! You've already proven yourself for us, Nils. And I'm sure when we're traveling, you can have one of the mounts carrying Ninian. excuse me for being a little annoyed with Lynn here for trying to say no to the obvious party members joining. Part of me wants to ask why she hesitated before saying special talents. Are those abilities part of the reason why you're being hunted down by the group we just fought against? Well, that spider sense apparently wasn't amazing enough to prevent Ninian from being kidnapped in the first place, so not a great way to advertise it. Well, having to be told to dodge isn't going to do our reflexes any good. Indeed, especially since we'd rather they don't get kidnapped the moment we turn our back on them. I suppose her thinking about asking Sane and then just moving on is supposed to be funny, but if anything, I'm annoyed as hell that Kent, Sane, and Lynn are the only characters that seem to be getting any repeat appearances in the pre- and post-mission dialogues. Wrath joined us in the previous mission, but apparently he has nothing further to contribute in terms of conversations. Florina and Will have been with us for a good while, but they apparently have had nothing to say for most of that time. Sure, in terms of how many characters a story would have to work with, the number of characters in our party at this point would be tough to juggle. But dear God, they aren't even trying. The only character who has any arc in this campaign is Lynn, and outside of their introductions, we never get any sense that the characters we're working with are getting closer in any way as they go from mission to mission. And I feel that absolutely undermines part of what I feel is a core aspect for this kind of story. What can I say? I like to see a party start to become a second family as the story goes on. Of course, I finished my little rant there. Well, I see no reason not to go after it. Again, I'm not seeing an explicit timer counting down and telling us we need to get a move on. They might be considered side quests in this game, but I can't really think of anyone who would say no to them if they became available. And once you accept a quest in this game, you have no choice but to finish it before you move on to the next mission in a game. When I think about side quests, I think of them as things that you could choose to leave incomplete for the rest of the game, or take it in various bite-sized chunks, not as soon as you start, you absolutely have to finish it before moving on. Sorry, I'm only gonna have one save file for this game and every other Fire Emblem I get around to LPing, though I might start using my emulator's save state as a bit of a safety net as we keep pushing forward, simply because, dear God, I do not like the idea of having to restart an entire mission over because of one mistake. Sorry it took me so long to tell you. Yes, Lynn, I had to go through some more tutorial message bullshit before I could get to the yes or no, decision there. I never had any intention to turn back, Lynn. A mysterious group that's going to continue to be mysterious until we get a good distance through the second campaign. Hell, it's going to be a long time before we see them again after this mission. Lovely, we're storming a castle. That should be some good practice for us fighting against Lundgren when we get to Kalen. rather distinct look for that girl. Hell, the guy she's talking to seems more distinct than most of the bosses we've run into so far, so maybe both of them will be recurring characters. Oh, bullshit. We were nowhere near swift enough to ambush anyone. Good to know that we aren't in any way subtle in our movements. That takes away any possible hope of us ever doing any ambushes later in the game. Because, of course, we have to be reactive, not proactive. So the ring itself isn't actually important to you. Nice to know it's not a ring of power or something, just a sentimental object. So the girl's gonna be important later on, but our heroes won't meet her at all here. Excuse me for finding that annoying. I was hoping both of these characters would be dangerous and skilled to a degree that we would see them several times, instead of just a one-and-done thing for this guy, apparently. Seriously, milady, you won't have to worry about punishing him. We're just gonna kill him like every other boss we've come across. Those chests and locked doors certainly say we're gonna need Matthew on our team. Yeah, nice to see that Matthew's already standing out here just as we arrive. It's a little late for you to try to warn us off of helping you guys with this particular thing. Where was any of this worry on the way over here? Hell, you were too busy thanking us when we said we'd go through with this little side mission, instead of stopping to consider this might actually be dangerous. I'm sorry, but it just feels a bit half-assed. Well, it was made because the more fights we go through, we gain more experience points. So, it's a little more selfish than you might think. Oh, what a surprise. They're going to outnumber us when we deploy. Just like how many of the other missions we've gone through so far? Sounds good, but let's try to avoid creating traffic jams like the previous mission. That was pretty annoying as hell, and entirely self-inflicted. Then give me control already. Okay, looks like Dorcas will have some nice spearmen to rip through. We've got some breakable walls as well, and some staircases that release a limited number of enemies over the course of the mission. Think we want Nils out here as well. Sorry, Florina, I don't think you'll be especially useful indoors. Besides, Kenton's saying I'm more than mobile enough for us to have someone that charges through things. And while they aren't as resistant against mages as she is, if the enemy gets some archers from the staircases, we're not gonna take an instant casualty from it. Is it bad that I'm not bothering to bring Lucius with us here? I mean, sure, he's a mage, so I'm sure he can do quite a bit of the carnage here, but he did not manage to kill the first opponent he went against, even though the game absolutely forced us to have him make that first attack that against somebody he was explicitly strong against. Actually, come to think of it, why do I have Will out here when Wrath has his bow? Sorry, Will, you're obsolete. You're gonna spend the rest of the campaign just sitting in the back, relaxing and wondering why you bothered coming with us. Lucius, you're on call. Maybe this time you'll get some kills. Who the hell are we even going to give the pure water to anyway? I mean, sure, we could let Wrath keep holding on to it, but personally, I'd prefer to just sell it. But I somehow doubt we have the ability to sell anything in our inventory unless we explicitly get to a store in this game.